not so long ago, one of our outstanding prime ministers from the other side of politics to me, that is to say the left, Bob Hawke, made the comment that when the bell tolls for Jews, it tolls for all mankind. Contrast that with the very left-wing prime minister we have in Australia at the moment, who in deciding to recognise Palestine, I don't know how you recognise a state that isn't a state, doesn't have an identifiable form of government. Nonetheless, he's been openly congratulated by Hamas, a terrorist organisation, for his actions.
I mean, one can draw a pretty clean, direct line from the level of Islamic immigration that a Western country brings in and the level of anti-Semitism. That should not be a particularly controversial statement to say that. It simply just is the case. In fact, in recent years, I've done a couple of speeches in Budapest, Hungary, and Hungary is actually one of the only countries on the European continent that has been adamant against bringing in large swaths of Muslim migrants. And I spent a lot of time, my first trip to Budapest 3.5 years ago, I went to numerous synagogues, kosher restaurants, Jewish community centers there. So I spent a good amount of time in the Jewish part of Budapest. Not only does it feel totally safe, there's actually barely any security guards because it's just not much of it's not really an active concern there. So there's a very clear and direct line, I think, between the number of Islamic migrants and the level of anti-Semitism. But it's not just the Muslims, unfortunately, here. In my book, I argue that much of it is the rise of what we refer to as contemporary wokeism, of leftist liberalism, cultural Marxism, whatever you want to refer to it there. And basically just this overarching mentality that has become one of the prevailing orthodoxies now in American higher education and American left-wing elite circles in general, which is this notion that we can, in kind of classic Marxist fashion, we can cleanly divide society into a dichotomy, but instead of the old Marxist economic dichotomy of the patricians and the plebeians or the proletariat, rather the woke say that you can divide society into the oppressors and the oppressed. And Christians certainly are oppressors in this ridiculous, oversimplified dichotomy. Somehow the Jews end up being oppressors too, which frankly is news to me. I'm not sure how anyone can read the history of mankind and conclude that the Jews are anything other than the most oppressed people ever. But this is not, this is not me. This comes from the left-wing wokerati, shall we say there. And this combination of bringing in Muslim immigration combined with the metastasis and the ubiquity in many places of this left-wing woke ideology really has created a very toxic environment, I think, for Jewish people. But Christians are really not far behind. And this is another point to my book, that anti-Semitism here, there, and everywhere, going back for thousands of years, it's never about the Jews. It is virtually never, ever, ever about the Jews. It is symptomatic of something more broadly going wrong in society.